how and when to get into Advaita philosophy. So, in Vedanta, Advaita philosophy is considered a very complex philosophy that is very attractive for those who have a very inquiring and intellectual streak to their personality. And I notice a lot of people getting into it, and they become totally confused and bewildered, in this philosophy. And it feels to be something dangerous on the surface, but there is a way, a time, and how, and the secrets to it, which I will discuss from my perspective in this video. So I'd like to ask you a great favor. If you like the contents of my video, please also remember to like and subscribe to my channel, and especially important, also share it to at least one of your social media or your friends. This will be of very great help to my channel in order to be able to reach out to more people, and I would really appreciate it, and I thank you in advance for it. Okay. For those who don't know me, I am Osman. I'm a bioenergy healer on a master level, with telepathic healing capabilities, specializing in critical care recovery and terminal illnesses, amongst a host of other physiological, psychological, and even spiritual ailments. I'm also an advanced level yoga and meditation teacher, having been practicing this art for almost 50 years and teaching for 44 years. And in that period, I've studied under various masters from different schools of thought, from different cultures and across the globe, and gleaned out the essence, what I feel is the most important, creating my own protocols that are adapted to the 21st century, making it much more effective, simpler, easier, quicker, faster, more time efficient, right? To that end, I now have students in over 100 countries. And my favorite protocol that I created is a 5-minute yoga and meditation program, which you can download for free from my website, yogawellness786.com, in exchange for subscribing to my blog, and where you can also get more information about my services. So please also remember, my therapies are all natural based and not a replacement for medical treatment. So when it comes to Advaita philosophy, usually this is for people who are intellectually inclined. So we get all types of people, and some people love philosophical arguments and love mysteries, and I'm a fan of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And I studied, even Advaita philosophy, but I didn't just start with Advaita philosophy. I studied like what was easy for me, and I also touched into, because I started studying the science of yoga, all the different, basic aspects of it, and trying to go into a little bit depth, to have a wide knowledge from a very young age in my childhood, right? And it's something that I was inclined to. It not was imposed on me by my family. My family didn't care about all these topics, and they thought I was weird. For my 10th birthday, when my mom asked me what I wanted as a gift, I there was a 30-volume edition sold by the Divine Life Society called The Science of Yoga at that time. I think now it's a 10-volume edition. If you search the Divine Life Society on the internet, Google it, they have a site that has got many free resources where you can download, many books for free, right? Because they want to spread the knowledge of yoga and meditation to the world. So it is an amazing resource. So I, chose that as an. I never asked for some game or some bicycle or some, amazing clothing. That was my passion. I was very interested in that, because in the community where I lived, there were people from the Divine Life Society. They used to come visiting homes and distribute free literature and magazines. And we used to give, mother used to give them donations, and they used to give, better magazines and so forth. But even if we didn't give money, they gave some type of literature, which was very interesting for me, to read. And I learned about there's this, science of yoga. I was very excited, and I went and study, and I started to learn the theory of what is philosophy and Advaita philosophy as well. This is part of the yoga subjects, right? And but I found the yoga postures were easier as a child, and I got very efficient into that. And I even attended, formal yoga classes after learning, and became very proficient because I was so passionate about it that I overtook my own teacher by my age of 13, and I was handed over the class to teach, and I've been teaching ever since. Being because so passionate, I went through so many different ups and downs in my life. I'm self-employed now for the last 29 years, and I've been in other careers before. I didn't know I want to be self-employed. It took a long journey of discovery before I felt that self-employment is what I truly wanted to do. And went through so many personal problems, financial problems, and ups and downs. But my passion was so strong till this day. It was there, and only 5 years ago I decided that I want to do this full time, because I couldn't do that full time earlier because I couldn't see, there being much money in it or easy to be able to make, a type of income to enjoy a comfortable life that I want to do. It was my perception at that time. And 5 years ago, after being self employed at that time for 24 years, I said, and this was even before COVID and so forth, I made a decision that I'm going to stop. And I was very successful in entrepreneurship, as an entrepreneur in the corporate field, earning millions of dollars, right? Millions of dollars. There was nothing that I could think of that I couldn't buy. I enjoyed everything. I had my dream home, my dream house, my dream cars, you know, uh, dream lifestyle and dream spending. And I could just, I lived a life where I just have to think of something, I just buy it. I'd never even worry what's the price. For decades, people ask how much is, I don't even know. I don't even know, when we go into a supermarket, I don't care whatever we need, we just put it into the trolley. And that time, my wife and I, we have to take two trolleys up front because one trolley is not going to be enough. For this a small family, two small children, and just the two of us, filling the trolley. Well, like shopping, and then just swipe your card, right? And not a credit card. I didn't. I cut up my credit card when I was 21 years old. Why do I need a credit card when I had cash, right? So I used, cash. Of course, I didn't become wealthy overnight. I worked very hard for it, and I struggled a lot and went through many ups and downs. But I lived that amazing life, and then I said, now, if I'm so good, I've got so much of experience in entrepreneurship, especially so many failures, right? And I came out of those failures and managed to succeed so many times after losing, my business and going down. I can't even count. It's not just a handful, many more than a handful times that I failed. And as I said, I will use my experience and expertise and to make this difficult field a business and a source of income, because I'm very passionate about it. I didn't because I felt I reached like 49 years old, and I didn't want to reach 50 years old and still doing things that having some passion in my heart. And of course, I was passionate about business, but it didn't give me the type of fulfillment and that fire as what this field, gives me. And that's why I came, passionately into this field and doing it full time. And so, from a young age, studying all aspects of yoga, and I came across many, Vedantic scripts, especially the Bhagavata Purana, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Bible. Going into every verse by verse, right? And studying, Buddhist teachings, and especially the Vedantic texts were very interesting because just one verse, one line, you can go easily. The people who were masters under which I studied, they could easily speak 1.5 2 hours on just one word, right? In the verse, just one word. And some people, for example, in the Islamic text, on just three alphabets, they can speak for months on end, right? Because there are certain alphabets mentioned, Arabic alphabets mentioned in the Quran, that they're the same. So similarly, eventually I came to the a 9-volume edition of Swami Vivekananda's English speeches when he was in England at the time. So they compiled it into 9 volume edition, and it's mainly an exposition on Advaita Yoga, right? And many people said it is so complex that they couldn't understand. Even the writers, they didn't understand at the type of publishing some of the concepts. So when you're reading the forward and the publisher's note, and the preface, you get this information that you're about to come into arguments and information that even they themselves could not understand what's there. So you know what you're into. You're going into something very complex and complicated, and this is the appeal for people who are intellectually inclined. And I wouldn't call myself intellectual, but I love this type of thing, right? And I went into it, and I was able to understand everything because I had the gift of attaining the Samadhi state, the experience of the Samadhi state briefly. I couldn't stay very long in it. It was totally mind blowing. Those who experience it, you come out of it. I couldn't speak for about an hour. I tried to enunciate my mouth. Nothing was coming out, right? And these were multiple experiences like this, and it's not a pleasant experience, right? Um, to give you this, I'll talk about that some other time. But let's come back to the topic at hand, right? Because I sometimes deviate too much. um, when I went through this, I understood because I had experience of the higher levels, of enlightenment experience, right? I'm not fully enlightened, and I don't. I mean, who doesn't want to be? But I couldn't handle the samadhi part, right? So I wanted to, develop increment by increment, and slowly. So I went into it, and it was amazing. Then I started to hear people talk and ask questions to enlighten people. So there was a lady by the name of Maya. So she's trending currently online in YouTube. Maya, she speaks on Kundalini Yoga. And many people from across the globe, right, from Europe, especially from Germany and so forth, on the particular videos that I watch, were asking questions. And then they were posing a very complex argument. I've spent years, it's been decades ago when I went through these things, so I couldn't really remember. It was refreshing, my mind on the concept of me and I, and the theory of duality and the theory of oneness, and the difference between duality and oneness. And they started to go into this very deep philosophical meandering of mixed jugglery of words. It was sounding so amazing to listen to, right? That it's like really like mind boggling, right, for the average person. And even I was getting lost along the way how he was describing it, but he came from a point of very like distress that he couldn't get it, he couldn't understand. He came to a point where he was confused, and the person, of course, answered him very well, and praise to her. I mean, even a lady, we're normally getting men, trending, as thought leaders, in the fields of yoga and enlightenment. And to find a lady who was a thought leader, answers were spectacular, better than what any male I heard, right, so far. And I've got extensive experience in this field, almost 50 years. So my hats off to her, the lady Maya, the way she answered it. And she understood Advaita philosophy very well. And she answered the question very well and very concisely. And what she also recommended that, not to get too lost into it, because if you go too deep into it, for example, Advaita philosophy has got 6 schools of thought. Each school of thought differs with the other in the interpretation of what Advaita is, right? So if you're going to study Advaita philosophy, then you're going to eventually you have to learn the different schools of thought, right? The 6 different schools of thought, and then you're going to get totally mixed up. Why is it so difficult? It is why is Advaita philosophy there? It is like, you get toys for children when they are very small. You buy them, colored things that to identify colors or shapes, and take a square shape and push it in a square hole, a star shape and put it in a star hole. And then as they grow a little bit more, they want electronic games and playstations and so forth. And then they want more expensive, they want quads and motorcycles and all these things, and go-karts. and go-kart racing, and and really developing. So as you age, you get different toys. Similarly, in the yoga sciences, they have higher and higher for the high, depending what level of development you are, because you don't suddenly one day you're dumb and next day you're enlightened. You go up in gradations as well. It starts opening up. Mind starts to open up before it suddenly opens up fully, right? So as it's opening up, it starts exercising your finer thought processes, which is very highly developed. So people who are long standing practicing pranayama, meditation, their mind is more subtle. You can feel, even my friend comments to me that I'm very sensitive. I mean, I can feel things other people cannot feel because I can feel my heartbeat all the time, right? I just focus on my heartbeat. I don't need to put a stethoscope. I don't need to put my finger on the pulse. I can count now because it is size of your fist is pulsating in your chest. How can you not feel it? The reason the regular people not feeling it is they condition themselves into not feeling it anymore because it's you with it from the time it's you're born and it's there all the time and you started to ignore it, and then until now you no longer feel it. But as you're progressing in meditation, there's a certain level of mindfulness. You learn to feel your heart beating, and you can feel the movement of energy in your body when you are in a positive environment. And certain people, what is the negative, you start getting clear sentience and so forth. So the finer aspects of your brain starts opening up. And then I remember I used to read these books, as a young person, and then have really difficulty as a young man around 20, 21, 22 years old, right? Really difficult reading these philosophical phrases and the commentary on it and going to in depth on it, analysis. And it was very exciting, interesting, but also mind bending. And then when I started to have higher and higher experiences of samadhi experiences, and more meditation and developing myself, and I started eventually at one stage, a level of my mind awakened, and suddenly in a flash I could understand every question that was confusing me in my whole life in a split second, right? When that aspect opened. And then when I started to read, I said, I can understand the depth of it. Now I'm understanding. So it's developing your depth of consciousness. So just being intellectually, interested is not the only qualification for Advaita. Advaita is designed for very high levels to take you to mind bending levels that like you now going against the chess player, the top in the world. So you got chess.com, right? You can go there. The number one in the world is, I think, is someone amazing. Now there's a new up and coming person who even beat the number one, and he was a 19-year-old person, right? And they're looking up to him. That, of course, due to the long-standing nature of the number of matches that the existing number one played, he can't just by getting beaten once, the other person can't just become number one, right? He has to prove himself, and there's so many points and so forth one has to gather before getting it. But it's like on that level, there's certain people you reaching that level, so it's a test of the level of your progress in your meditation science. So it'll become easier automatically. And then eventually, in a flash, you'll be able to go through so much like it's butter. Then you are on a higher and higher level. It's a test and become easier and easier. And it's not so mind bending. But for the average person on a normal intelligence level, even you could be a PhD professor in a university, is nothing compared to the quantum field, the quantum level. So, to give you an example, by the age of 19, 20, I'll say 20 years old, I think by the age of 21, I was 21 years old, there was a textbook on analytical chemistry in university when I was in medical school. And they wanted to test my ability because I seem to have a very amazing memory skill. And I studied the textbook 800 pages and was expected to write an examination on it. I passed it with flying colors. They don't tell you the exact percentage, but of course, I had a distinction in it. And what I did is I memorized 800 pages. They're all formulas, definitions, and explanations of scientific concepts for 800 pages in 48 hours. And I slept. I didn't have sleepless nights for that 48 hours. I slept, proper sleep, for two nights. And I went and wrote and this thing, and I memorized it like that. So there were many board exams. I wanted to see if I still had it. When I was around in my early to mid 40s, I wanted to open, a business in a certain sector that requires you to pass, about 5 levels of board examinations. In each level that I wrote the examination, I know I had the highest in the country, because in the history of the country, because I got 100% for every level, right? And I made history, like that. So even I studied, and I love studying this course and that course and this certification course, and especially on business strategy and management accounting, and especially business strategy is very interesting and exciting, right? For me, strategic management. So of course, I like mind bending stuff. So I mean, I'm normally getting 100% or 99% or 98%, right? So in a class of 200, where people a test is written to teach you a lesson how difficult this field can be. It's designed to make everyone fail. Where out of a class of 200, 197 failed. The third highest mark was around 52%. The second highest mark was 63% or so, and I had 100%, right? So this is not because I'm intelligent, because I developed myself through yoga sciences and awakened the higher levels that other people didn't yet awaken. So if I'm, even shoulder to shoulder, they will beat me. But I've got a secret, weapon. So I'm, like you can say, got a cheating tool, right? That is makes me seem intelligent, right? So it's designed for this. As you're advancing in yoga, no matter how intelligent you are, you can even be Einstein. If you're not practicing yoga and you're not opening up the quantum levels of your mind, which is easily done when you're doing the yoga processes, you're going to go crazy in the Advaita philosophy, right? But it's not meant to make you crazy. It's like a test of your progress and development. And then you can, as you're developing, it'll start becoming automatically easier. There's no need for you to go and ask someone else. It must become apparent to you. It's like you're going and asking someone else a question as though there's just one small thing you didn't if you understand that, you'll understand everything. Never. You'll not understand everything. When you understand everything, you're enlightened, right? You're going to reach, when you reach enlightenment level, you'll understand everything, right? That's the only time, and then you will see what it's more like an exercise tool. So when should you start, and how? It is the modus operandi is like, as you're developing, you will sing, and you can start at any time. To see where you are and how much you need to progress. The more confusing it is, it's exciting, means you've now got much progress, and you can keep measuring your progress by going into it occasionally. And don't get stuck into it, because it's not designed to for you to go there, go into it deeply and so forth, because you cannot explain in this dimension that which belongs to a dimension beyond the capacity of what this dimension can conceive, right? You yourself have to evolve to that dimension to understand aspects of the higher dimensions. So hope that information helps you. Take care of yourself always.